Welcome to episode 38 of Confessions of an SEO. I'm your host, Carolyn Holzman. You found the least tactical SEO podcast on the planet, although today I might be pushing that envelope. But any bald-faced tactic in here is completely by accident, because this is where you will find the people side of SEO. Agnostic information concerning SEO from someone who's been there on both sides. A brick and mortar business owner for over 28 years, making my own business, and now a reformed client SEO of 12 years, now a seriously seeking SEO researcher and tester. I'm not here to sell you. When it comes to client SEO, I deeply believe the farmer and the cowboy should be friends. That there's mutual revenue opportunities when we understand each other's work better. So, if you're an SEO, you can bask in an SEO oasis where your profession is respected. And if you're a business owner or a C-suite executive working with an SEO marketing group, I hope you hear something here that will both be illuminating and provide greater understanding and respect for the SEOs that you're working with. Good morning. I am both excited and scared of today's episode. Excited because I see how a larger discussion and increased understanding of this topic could bring more joy and less pain into the life of an SEO, a search professional, or the business owner who's doing their own SEO. And scared because I know this is going to hit hard against our preconceived ways of thinking about search itself, about Google, and what we believe about their goals, and what we as SEOs know to be true. And I used air bunnies on that last part. So if, like in the theater, we could all put on our suspension of belief hats. Yes, I said that right. I want to share some fascinating news about a new discovery. We have found some new KPIs. For those who don't know what those are called, it's key performance indicators for SEO. If you're a business owner evaluating, this is probably something you think a lot about. And they were found in a handbag at Victoria Station. No, not really. It was Grand Central. No, not really. It was found in SEO testing. But I believe we've all seen it for years. We just didn't know what we were seeing. We didn't know that what we were seeing was something. And we took away from what we saw as something that we were doing wrong. So one of the sources of my client PTSD, or I should say my client SEO PTSD, over the years was this ridiculous practice of providing ranking reports. At the time, I was using software that would generate pages and pages of pie charts and graph and prose about the significance of each piece, but the only part that the client ever read was the ranking chart. Like, where were they? That was all they really cared about. And it kind of evokes that same energy from high school, when test grades are posted on a wall. And perhaps by saying it that way, I've dated myself, but I think we all know what that energy is. I hated it then, and I hate being in it now. So, anywho, raise your hand if that's happened to you, right? You've sent the client a ranking report, and the monthly report says they're ranking number 12, up from number spot 29 from last month's report, and it's for their biggest value keyword, and you're thrilled that within the first 30 days you've been able to make such a change. And then you get the call, and it's from the client, and they say, "What do you mean we're number 12? We're not number 12, we're number 21. Are you trying to kid us?" Now, for myself, that's always been a very embarrassing moment. I don't care how confident one might be. We've never really, truly talked about when this happens, and we've not talked about it publicly other than to sort of, say we did something wrong. What about also, like, sometimes it shows up where you've done this great optimization and you know that things are improving, and you run the report and you find out they're at the same spot as they were last month. I mean, what gives? And it's understanding that we would ask ourselves, do we suck at SEO? Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit of good news. It turns out there's a reason we saw this, and I'll get to it shortly. So what if I told you, and this is all in regards to, let's say, your target SEO, the one that you're optimizing for a particular keyword. You have another URL for other keywords, but just for now, just hold one in your mind. So what if I told you that all of the following statements were true, or could be true? 1, your URL could appear in every search performed for that keyword in the top 100. That means 100% of the time. Or your URL could appear 50% of the time for the searches performed for that keyword, and not at all in the other 50% of the time. And thirdly, what if your URL, it appeared in 100% of the top 100 every time it's searched, but sometimes it's at spot 7 and sometimes at spot 28. Now, I think all of us have no trouble with believing the first one, right? We appear 100% of the time the search is performed. I mean, that is how we've just rolled, right? And I think it's the other two that probably have your brain scrambled right now the same way as it did to me when I was first introduced to this concept. And I'll tell you more about how it's possible to detect and quantify this, but for now, just hang with me. Okay, we're going to go in the twilight zone. So what if ranking is a probability, a roll of the dice? Would Google really do that? I mean, honestly, just want to remind us all that they tell us that they do this. And while my normal stance is, don't believe everything on face value, this is one that I think we can. And if you look in the Google Docs for, how search works, Google explains to us how they're working their search. There's a point in there you reach where it talks about, all their testing. They say they do every year, and then this is based on 2020. They did a little over 4,800 launches, 17,523 live traffic experiments, 383,605 search quality tests, and about 63,000 side-by-side experiments. So if we just look at the search quality tests, at that quantity, that would translate to over 1,000 a day. If it's a probability, we have to consider thinking that for every search, it's like rolling the dice. Partially because Google's experimenting, and partially because, there are probably some active tiebreakers going on. How to see this for ourselves and not to take my word for it, or anybody else's word, or Google's word. I know I've talked about Ted Kubaitis previously. To say he creates SEO tools is an understatement. He's the creator and developer of Quora software. And if you want to take a look at it, I have a bit.ly link. If you're not familiar with that, you just go to bit.ly/confessionsquora, all one word. You may recall some of my earlier episodes, specifically 19 and 20, where in an attempt to describe the volatility within Google search, that was my attempt to do it. It's his work that has created a tool that peels back the curtain on how to see this and how to provide the ability to quantify it. So as SEOs, we basically measure all day, every day. How optimized is our content compared to those above us? And how do we measure up to everybody coming up behind us so that we continue to outpace them? Some we can do without tools, but increasingly we need tools to see some things. And to see how all of those statements that I talked about earlier about how your URL can appear in search and all three can be true, to see all of these and to see them specifically as the KPIs that they are, we need a tool. So I'd like to introduce you to the latest tool from TED, which is SEO Volatility Tool. Now, for those of you that, like me, never really saw a tool under the hood, I'm going to use a word that basically, might make your eyes roll back. So what this does is the software does sampling. Now, what that really means, and I think it's easy to understand, what that means is that the software runs the same search many times within 1 minute. So it goes search, 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 search. And so then takes all of that, and it is data, right? And it prepares a graph to show you. This tool can provide evidence for you to be able to answer that client's question about where are they really if they're not where the ranking tools say they are. This particular tool is a bit like a Ginsu knife. There's always more, and I'll save a lot of that for later, but just to give you an idea, it does things like reveal cannibalization, like between two URLs on your same site. And if those title shifts that Google is doing now, and we've all been talking about it, if those titles are indeed changing your rank, this thing will show you that. And spoiler alert, sometimes those title changes do change where you show up, despite Google's assurances to the contrary. Now, I happen to have beta access to this tool, which for you means if there are any listeners who would like to see such a scan, I'm going to run 5 of them for people at no cost. I'm not going to run 5 per everybody, but like if 5 people reach out and tell me they want a scan, I'll do it. So you don't even have to tell me which URL is yours, just the keyword and your email. And if you need to see the results from a particular location, a city, state, if it's a local keyword, or if you just want it by your country. That's all you need to reveal to me. You give nothing away. And then when it's run, I'll email you your file that you can open up in a browser and you'll see everything. Now you can send, if you'd like this, email me, confessions@americanwaymedia.com. And I'm not sure when my access is going to be revoked. So get your requests in quickly, and my apologies if by the time you hear this I'm out. However, I will do a group video training on how to interpret what you're seeing and provide some ways to translate what you're seeing into words, especially if this is for a client. Like, how do you describe this? You'd probably want to show them the report, but you'd want to be able to have some language around it. So how is this a KPI? So remember earlier when I shared those times when after all that optimization, a page is still in the same position as last month. How cool would it be to say instead, remember last month when your page, Ms. Client, was only 80% in the results at number 7? Things have improved, and now it's in 100% of every search for that term. So you are at the number 7 spot no matter what time of the day somebody is looking. Now that kind of detailed measurement is now possible. You don't have to explain why they see themselves lower or higher than your report shows. You can now just show them. And these new KPIs can start to be a talking point around ranking, not as a cudgel to beat you over the head as the SEO or an excuse to fire you. You get where I'm going with this? Your use of this measurement as a KPI to your client, especially when you can show them this kind of data but in a graphic format, is going to benefit you and your client. Not to mention, they can relax knowing you see what they cannot. So I'm going to stop here for today. Thank you for listening. I appreciate receiving your questions and comments, which you can send to confessions@americanwaymedia.com. And this type of content comes out of the SEO testing community. If you don't know what SEO testing is, and you're an SEO, yes, it's like the science test format that we all did in junior high: hypothesis, setup, results, and summary. Now, right now, as of this broadcast, which should be September 17th, yes, you can apply to be a tester if you are a member of IMG, and that's the Internet Marketing Gold Group. If you want to check it out and sign up, go to, and I'll give you the other short address for it. It's the bit.ly address, bit.ly/SEO friends. And if you're curious to know what you're getting into, you can listen to episode 8, What is SEO Testing? If you're looking at what that is and why I'm such a strong proponent of SEO testing. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening to it. And if you haven't done so yet, please do. And let your friends know about Confessions. If you want to share it with colleagues or business owners, just copy the URL of the episode. It's on Amazon Alexa, so you can listen in your car. You have to just let Amazon connect it. You have to do it through the Alexa app to connect it to the system. And of course, if you're looking, you can just Google Confessions of an SEO. You can't miss it. We all stand to make more business and success together when both the SEOs and the business owners understand each other better. It's been my pleasure to be your host. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the SERPs.